everybody. So nice to be here. Okay, hello, is that better? Just don't ask me to sing. So first of all, many thanks to Xiangwu Cho for setting up my presentation so perfectly. It's clear Busan has work to do to become a leading city of culture, and that there is both clearly the will and the buildings available for the city to grow in a way, grow into a world-class art center. And certainly there is great ability. So thanks to Lee Chai-Kwan for his discussion of the impressive and effective WOW book festival from, and from Kim Shae-jun in his discussion focusing on popular engagement and local activation. Everything I've heard reinforces the idea that a cultural city stimulates and is supported by the citizens themselves. Art emerges from us, the collective. So I'll talk a little bit about possible general strategies and processes for transforming a city into a cultural center. So I start with the title and the questions of this conference, and I'm deeply honored to be invited by the Davin Art Space with President Si Yuan Oh, who's here, thank you. And also, of course, by Bukyung University providing this excellent venue and that delicious lunch. And of course to Lee Jeong-hyung for his brilliant direction of this entire conference. Thank you all, and thank you for posing such stimulating questions. So the question is, how can artists, art events, and international partnerships transform Busan and its place in the world of ideas and culture? So I've taken your initial challenges and changed them here just slightly to emphasize a few key components that might be considered as we contemplate the questions of what to do to expand Busan's rich cultural contributions. Your first challenge discussed cultural tourism, and I emphasize here that really requires growing Busan's art sector itself. Once again, reinforcing the idea that culture emerges from us, from the city itself. You discuss sustainable interactive art festivals, and I like to emphasize that they really need to engage the public. There needs to be citywide branding of Busan as a cultural hub, folding in the film festival, the Busan Biennale, the Busan Fireworks Festival, and adding in addition residencies and institutional exchanges. It's very often helpful to have overarching thematics that connect all of the different cultural outputs within the city, really emphasizing artist-led research, the idea that artists can investigate and explore and expose global issues from a human-based perspective, built on local examples. Things like climate change, sea level change, migration are just some examples. And of course, nothing builds a cultural city and the cultural infrastructure, the sort of human-based infrastructure, better than education. Open educational opportunities, support your local students, and academic exchanges. You can build a network of national and international partner institutions through the flow of ideas and the exchange of artists and teachers. So before we get into strategies and examples, let's just for a minute consider the question of why art should be in the role of city transformations. Art is distinct from other human activities because art is a profound form of dialogue, the DNA of community, and art questions the status quo, the motor of adaptation. Art has this dual component of focusing on community and culture on one hand, and asking questions and pushing the boundary, challenging assumptions, which is really about dynamism, change, and time. So culture and change are the two components of art. So of course, art is transformative, and art is transformative of an individual outlook, and of human systems, and of social organization. So artists transform cities from the inside out. This is just another way of saying what's been said so often tonight, We must let it come from the citizens out. So based on this pattern that we talked about, the role of culture and community on one hand, and time and change on the other, here are a set of cities where new communities were being built: Williamsburg, New York, Detroit, Liverpool, Berlin, Portland, Oregon, and downtown Phoenix. And these new communities are advancing ideas adapted to new realities, new modes of community, cultural diversity, shared economy, environmental sustainability, alternative transportation, and civic activism. These two components, the actual transformation of community and the values that those communities work around, are often and powerfully artist-driven. Art cities are international cities. Art cities attract other artists. Art cities are part of a global network. Art cities are grown, not made. It's a process. It's a slow and intentional and enduring process. And the key elements are, and we can move quickly, the key elements are: support your local artists, enhance education for the arts, engage the arts, create an idea ecology, celebrate achievements with major public events, make the arts a central municipal focus, and provide excellent infrastructure. So let's now get into some examples and case studies. I have 4 distinct examples I want to talk about. 2 of them are really about the output, the product, the events and creations and constructions that artists put together. And the second 2 are more focused on the process, how the actual building of a project and with the community might in fact be the majority part of the impact. So it's not so much the event, but the process of building the event. So these are 2 examples. Great. The first one is Art Place. Art Place is an American granting organization that's made up of a group of foundations, and its design is to use art projects and art events to create a sense of place. This is literally what this festival, what this Congress is about. So here is the sort of a manifesto of Art Place. It's a 10-year collaboration of a variety of different agencies. It places art and culture as a core sector of community planning. It strengthens the social, physical, and economic fabric of the communities. And it focuses its work on creative placemaking. Okay. This means having arts and culture represented alongside sectors like housing and transportation. The idea that arts is actually that essential to a municipal existence as housing or transportation. And art placing requires equal parts planning and investment. It's really it can be seen as a municipal effort without taking away the creative component. And in the end, art placing is about making a community's future the community's itself. The community owns its own future. Placemaking, the idea of placemaking came from Jane Jacobs in the 60s, who believed that community development must be locally informed, human-centric, and holistic. So this is an example of an Art Place grant that we received in Phoenix. It's a $100,000 grant, and we spent almost 2 years developing this single event. The artist is Claire Patey and Matt Moore, and they spent 2 years working with local farmers, local food producers to assemble a 1 kilometer long table down the main street, and we fed over 10,000 people and literally transformed the self-image of Phoenix from a food desert to a food oasis. Okay. So before we move on beyond the Art Place examples, I just want to underscore this is a national effort, mixture of federal money and private foundations, and they're looking to see how to get communities involved in artist-led projects that change the actual feel of the city and the quality of life. So this project is Northern Spark. It's a annual from dawn to dusk. So it's an all-night event on the second Saturday of June in Minnesota's Minneapolis-St. Paul district. So here are the facts, but so it's a free annual event, and it brings in tens of thousands of people. And while it is only about 12 hours long, it takes all year and lots of commissions to local artists. The key with this event is that it really focuses on the local artists, from small grants of $1,000 up to really major commissions of $100,000. So in addition to having a huge impact on the local art scene by putting all this money into a variety of commissions, it also draws the city together by focusing on a particular theme for each year. And in some cases, as in 2016 and 17, for 2 years, the same theme: climate chaos, climate rising. So as they said, for these 2 years, it was 365 days and 2 nights.
Say that again.
Because they worked for a full year to have the 2 events.
Yeah.
They call it 365 days and 2 nights. Anyway, the point is, it's a project that takes all year. The artists are working on it, even though it just blows up in 2 nights. You have projections on water and buildings on fire, for example. This project, for example, is not what it looks like. It's actually was a perfect model of a Frank Lloyd Wright house that the artist made, and then it was displayed for a number of months, and then on the night they burnt the model. So these 2 examples, the Northern Spark and Art Place America, are examples of event-oriented or output-oriented projects, output-oriented support for the arts, even though we know in the Northern Spark it's an all-year project. And now I want to go to residency. So I can move fairly quickly through these, but this is a small 10-apartment motel building that I took over and turned into a residency program where we can invite artists from around the world to develop projects over many months and connect with the community. We have a public space in the residency, which is where we have events such as these, which are all artist workshops designed to engage the community. We also recognize that bringing artists from different parts of the world to work on ideas and to look at our city brings new perspectives, and the engagement with community and students really does develop a broader awareness. This is the part where I say art cities attract artists. We actually can change the leadership in the city through art practice. In this case, the single transformation of this one building was really part of a change of the whole downtown. When we first got there, this was our view was of the mountains in the background. Today, there's a 10-story co-op building, and it's the fastest growing section of Phoenix, and it has been over 3 years. The art district has turned into a real estate boom. Some artist projects. This is Margarita Cabrera, who came in. She works with illegal immigrants, and they make sculptures together over a many-month period. They create networks, and they're making sculptures of cactuses that they experienced in their crossing the desert, and they're making them out of the fabric of Border Patrol uniforms. So Margarita's project brought together the illegal immigrant community, which is a big part of Phoenix, and Pablo's project brought in a much larger community, which is the Spanish-speaking community. So this project created a temporary, secondhand, Spanish-only bookstore in a city of over 2 million Spanish speakers where there's no other all-Spanish bookstore. I know, right? So actually, the good news here, this was so inspiring that a woman in Phoenix went out and bought and started a all Spanish bookstore. So this project created a real solid bricks and mortar brick bookstore in Spanish in Phoenix.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is another project, once again, where an artist in residence spending time in our city to do a project has transformed the quality of life for many. This is Marissa John and her League of Nannies project, which is a traveling exhibition and performance that engages the domestic workers of different cities to create a sense of workers' rights and organizing nannies especially. So there's been some real concrete results of this project. In New York State, in California, and in Hawaii, as a result of this project, she has been able to pass laws guaranteeing the civil rights of domestic workers in all three of those states. Okay, so we've seen some examples of major projects, national projects, city projects, and these smaller intimate projects based around residencies. Now I want to look at a port town, much smaller than Busan, but still a city on the water. So Rijeka is the largest port in the country of Croatia, and Musagedis is an arts foundation based in Toronto, funded by the people that developed the BlackBerry. So this town went through some major transformations during the war. It was very highly industrialized during the Soviet period, made mostly torpedoes. And as a result, the downtown area has become sort of compressed and constrained by industrial architecture, particularly this long pier. This thing here.
So 리제카라는 도시는 산업 도시인데.
So working with the World Bank and with the country of Croatia and with seed money from this foundation, they managed to develop a major initiative transforming much of the city. And I'm going to look at just two examples that were on this pier, but the pier itself had 9 different projects on it. So the interesting thing is these are artist residents that were brought into Rijeka. The mayor took a house and turned it into an artist residency for this purpose. So this is the staircase that you would come and you walk through this structure to come down to go to a swimming place, which is right here at the end. Right here. So at the very end of the pier, you have a place to go swim. People can reclaim the beautiful Adriatic, and it's used all the time. Remember, these are all pieces to activate this pier, so that even if they're temporary, the point is it brings people in. And this last piece, which is also on the pier, but at the beginning part, is by a sound artist who took, she enlisted students from a high school to have them go out and interview old people in the town. Over 600 people were involved in recording stories of the fishermen, of the old people that used to work there, of different members of the city, and then she created a sound piece in that crane. And this became a very popular place to go. As you walk through the crane, which was like a gateway to the entire pier, you would hear voices, some of them familiar, telling stories about what they remember from before. So this is just 2 examples of the 9 that were on the pier, and there were a total of 32 throughout the whole city. So this is a good example of how artists can transform a city without the spectacle of a giant event or a biennial, but instead through one project after another, each one activating many citizens and taking many months to realize.
Let me ask you one question. Did it happen at the same time or one after another?
They would have 5 or 6 or 7 at a time happening. So this one and the one at the end happened at the same time. And then somebody else would come in. So it was about 3 years of steady projects. So this is my last slide, but the examples I hope help explore how to engage the public, brand the city, allow overarching thematics and artist-led research, and above all, support your artists and support your students.